So before we move on to our actual topic, I want to discuss one phenomenon that is also quite widely published. It's called the Great Resignation, maybe predominantly happening in the Western side of the world. But I can also see some parts of Asia also kind of like following the trend somehow due to the pandemic, maybe. Maybe can tell us more. What do you think is happening here? Why there this phenomenon of Great Resignation?
I guess the Great Resignation has a lot to do with autonomy, competence, and social inclusion, which, when fully met, promote our well-being at work and positively influence our behavior. Today, employees want more autonomy, e.g. work-life balance and working from home. And at the same time, they want more social inclusion. So the best of the pre-COVID time to meet real people in real life with real coffee, and the part from working from home have a better work-life balance, which due to COVID, we are able to work more from home. So for recruiting, this meant that companies definitely need to offer flexible work hours and remote work. So that's a must. Additionally, recruiting should provide as many authentic insights into the company and the new job as possible for the social inclusion. So it's also important that candidates interact quickly with their new colleagues in order to feel socially integrated. Team building process in the selection process.
So you mentioned a couple of very interesting things, right? Because you mentioned all these attributes that probably people are looking like psychological safety or social inclusion, work-life balance, working from home, flexible working hours. So all this seems to be quite a trend these days. Do you see this kind of change of what people really want from a job actually affecting the recruitment process, or maybe from the company's point of view? What do they need to think about now in order not to get affected by many people resigning from the company?
First of all, you have to offer flexible work hours and remote work. So you have to do that. If it's possible in any way, you have to do it. If you run a hotel, it will be hard to do remote work. You need your staff at your hotel. But for all work where remote work is possible, you have to find a way how you can fulfill the need of social inclusion. How can you manage the day working at home? Maybe you start to do more team events or bring people together in a real experience to be part of a team of a company. So you have to spend more time and more effort to connect people and bring them in a discussion, to make them feel as a team, to make them feel welcome and successful in what they do.
How about in terms of the recruitment process itself? I know like these are the benefits that you will offer, but is there any significant difference in terms of recruitment process due to the Great Resignation?
Maybe that it's more common to do video calls than interviews in person. That's one part. That's easy to fix, to do more Zoom calls than real interviews in person. But I guess it's also helpful to integrate the team from the department who's looking for a new employee, to involve this team in the recruiting process, to connect them. That's a way for the candidate to know the colleagues of the future. How these people look like? How do I like them? How well do I fit in? Do they give me the feeling being part of a team? So it's more important to connect people on the same level. So it's not so important that the HR guy is in the interview, because normally it's not the person you will work with. After that interview or after the recruitment process, normally you won't see your recruiter again.
So it seems that when you say that the team themselves now needs to be involved in the process, maybe helping to interview, those are like some of the concepts from the Agile recruiting, because I had a chance to take a look at the book. But for people who are not yet familiar about this whole concept of Agile recruiting, can you probably explain to us what is actually Agile recruiting? Is it just recruitment traditionally plus Agile process and it becomes Agile recruiting? Or essentially there's something different underneath it?
I put Agile in recruiting because it means that HR is aligning itself even more closely with the customer. That's a typical Agile thing, to focus on the customer. For HR, it's always a question, who's the customer? Is it the department or is it the applicant? So maybe there are two customers. But first and almost, it's always the role of HR to supporting the department in all tasks. That's why there's an HR department, it's a service department who's support for the other departments. One of the biggest challenges for every department is finding new employees. So that's one of the biggest tasks HR has to help their first, most important customer. If we look at what applicants want today, it's a transparent insight into the company and the task, what they have to do, but also into the culture of the company and the team they are applying to. So first of all, HR has to help the department who's looking for a new employee and has to focus on the applicants. What do they want? What's the big changes in the Great Resignation? How can we connect the department and candidate on an easy way and a good way? How can we give a candidate a good insight of our company and be really authentic about the culture and the job tasks? There's another part why it's agile in recruiting. It's the point of flexibility and adaptability. So working environments are changing faster and faster due to COVID. There's a Great Resignation. There was something before, there will be something after. Employees are needed now who can keep up with these changes. So they have to be more flexible, more willing to learn and change. And this is the reason why technical skills are moving more into the background. It's always good to have some technical skills, but in a very fast changing environment, every day you need new skills. Things you learned at your university will be outdated in a few years. So you have to be flexibility, willingness to learn, change. A lot of parts why Agile is important for recruiting.
So you mentioned about, first of all, you need to align with the concept of customer, which is in this case is the department who is recruiting or the hiring manager, let's put it this way, and also the applicant themselves or the candidate. I mean, it's given traditionally, we have been focusing a lot on the hiring manager or the team themselves who wants to hire people. But at the same time, I think there are still a lot of variants in terms of focusing on the candidate, not just another person to think, okay, we just hire a bunch of people to our company. So you mentioned the thing, what do the candidate wants? What is the significance of this actually? Like, how should we actually start caring about what the applicants want? Because it seems like it's going to be customized towards individuals rather than a generic approach.
So it's always a war for talent and everyone is looking for a new employee. So the job market is empty. So you have to focus on your candidates and their needs much more than maybe the needs of your real customers who are buying your products. Most of the companies I talk with have a lot of customers, a lot to do, and no need to find new customers. But they can't do their work or can't do new things because of a lack of employees. They wouldn't find new employees. That's one of the biggest things every company has, to find new employees, to do more work, to grow, to make new stuff. So you really have to focus on candidates and employees and their needs. It's more important for the future of your company. If you do so, it's necessary to find out how a candidate looks at a recruiting process. Everyone knows the candidate journey, which is related to a customer journey, from a sales cycle or something like that. And you have to present some important information to the candidate at each step of the recruiting process. So the central question is, what information do your candidate need to make a decision to go on with you in your recruiting process? We started with flexible working hours, part of remote work, working from home, but also the insights of the company and to feel involved and social welcome in the company. So how you can manage the whole recruiting process in a comfortable way for both sides.